The United States and Israel conducting strikes on Iran in Operation Epic Fury over the weekend, with Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei being killed. Iran retaliating against American bases and Israel as CENTCOM's quashing Iranian claims of certain missile strikes. Those are just some of the headlines you'll find from over the weekend at thecentersquare.com. Now, President Donald Trump gave several updates over the weekend, and this morning at an unrelated ceremony, he provided another update on U.S. casualties and how long he expects the conflict could go on.
Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot.
The president said that the U.S. is capable of going much longer than 4 or 5 weeks, with some lawmakers vowing to work at getting a vote on the War Powers Act amid those Iranian strikes. U.S. Representative Thomas Massie out of Kentucky is working with Ro Khanna out of California, and they're working to force a vote in Congress once it returns to session. The War Powers Act requires hostilities to terminate 60 days after a vote unless Congress authorizes an extension or formally declares war. Now let's get to the latest from the ground in Washington, D.C. with the Center Square's Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief Sarah Roderick-Fitch, who's standing outside the White House this morning. And just after you left a ceremony where the president was speaking, Sarah, you've been at this since the strikes occurred over the weekend. What are some of the latest things that taxpayers really need to focus on here?
Well, I think public safety here in the United States is probably key at this point. Secretary Hegseth said this morning that he is, there are concerns for sleeper cell terrorist groups here in the United States, stateside. But overall, I think as far as we're concerned is how long is this operation going to take? The president is saying they're ahead of schedule, but he's also saying that they will stay as long as necessary. So we really don't know at this point how long it's going to be. He's giving sort of a timeline of about 4 weeks possibly. But he did indicate this morning, it was during the Medal of Honor ceremony and held in the East Room at the White House, that the leadership of the Iranian leadership that they were targeting was taken out in about an hour. And we kind of heard nearly 50 Iranian top leadership gathered Saturday morning, their time, Iranian time. And sort of they took that as an opportunity to go after them. Of course, Israel has sort of been focusing on going after the Iranian leadership, while the United States has been focusing on taking out the Iranian, their either nuclear sites, ballistic stuff, their military. The president just did announce, which was new, that an additional Iranian naval ship was taken out. That brings the total to 10 naval ships now that have been destroyed. So it seems, I can't tell you exactly what the number is, what they have, what the Navy, their Iranian Navy is, but that's a pretty significant number at this point. So I think really kind of looking at the timeline, and then also really sort of the impacts here in the United States and what this could lead to potentially.
Yeah, and absolutely. The question is now among local officials as to what kind of threats there may be, as Iran's known as a exporter of terrorism. Right? I mean, they use their funds from oil proceeds to give to terrorist groups that have caused problems all across the world, especially in the Middle East. But we've got FBI Director Kash Patel saying that they're fully engaged in the situation overseas and keeping an eye on what that means for public safety here locally. What are you hearing?
Well, there was that attack over the weekend. It's looking like it was a terror attack. All signs point to it. The Joint Terrorism Task Force was assigned to it in Austin, Texas. They're shooting where three people were killed. That looks like that was probably going to be a lone sort of thing, but they are treating that as a terrorist attack. But yes, especially here in D.C., there's been a heightened alert. Military bases across the country, of course, in the world, are also on heightened alert. And it is happening here. Secret Service is also putting, extra patrol. There's a little bit more happening here in DC. A little bit more. You see definitely some more police on the streets, although it is a very secure. It's probably the most secure places in the country or in the world. I know U.S. Capitol Police is also up there patrol as far as members of Congress, Capitol. But there is a concern, here in the United States, Hezbollah, which is really kind of one of the number one terror proxies of Iran. And they have been known to be here in the United States and having a lot of cells that are a little bit more organized. They've been able to come up, through the border, Central and South America, having sort of a presence down there. That kind of is a major concern, and they are directly related to Iran. That's where they've gotten their funding. They are actually a Lebanese terrorist organization, but they have a heavy presence here in the United States. And while sort of that hasn't been talked about, but that is something of concern, locally. And I know that the administration, Director Patel, even the Department of War are paying close attention to, possible attacks. I think that they're kind of, worried and concerned that there could be some, maybe more that are imminent at some point.
And I think too, the issue of lone attacks, right? Somebody who may be inspired by certain actions overseas, just taking it upon themselves, might not be a conspiracy, so to speak, but it could just be an individual person. And Kash Patel, the FBI director, posting over the weekend, encouraging people to call the FBI with anything that they see as possibly suspicious. And that number 1-800-CALL-FBI, or you can go to tips.fbi.gov and you can file tips that way. You also have Kristi Noem with the Department of Homeland Security, an organization, Sarah, I know you know this, but was started after a terrorist attack in September 11th, 2001. DHS coming about because of that, and she posted over the weekend. They also continue to work with federal intelligence and law enforcement partners as they continue to monitor things closely. Sarah, this sounds like it's going to be a storyline for the next few weeks here, as the president indicated, 4 weeks possibly, but even beyond that, what's going to happen next year?
Well, it'd be interesting thing you talk about the DHS. One of the other issues is going to be a battle this week and Republicans in Congress are pushing Democrats because, as you know, there's a partial government shutdown right now, but they're not funding DHS, and that is a huge problem. So there are agencies that are working and now being told basically you need to be upping your game and you need to be in a higher alert. And here we are now with this huge conflict and heightened security alert, and a lot of these agencies are not being funded. And so that is now a push as well. Republicans are going to be going ahead and pushing that, as a lot of Democrats are going to be pushing for a resolution for the Wars Act. They're going to be pushing for that, but also since it has said Republicans are going to be pushing, hey, we need to get this back. This is now, very important to get these agencies funded. They're kind of saying, hey, enough of the politics. Lives are sort of, at stake here.
Considering the TSA,
yes,
the Coast Guard. These are
and the Coast Guard is the Coast Guard is also, that is considered a branch of the military as well. So they are also overseas too. They are not just here in the United States. They are deployed all over the United States. I've been in Japan. They're in Japan. They are in that region, also kind of guarding things. So they are now going without pay. And right now at this time, that's very crucial to get them paid, especially when you sort of need that morale and you need those people. So that will be a huge push that's going to be coming this week. Probably later this week as well. So we'll see what happens with that.
But very interesting. Closely. No question about it. Sarah Roderick-Fitch from the White House here for the Center Square. Be safe, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, some other headlines from over the weekend. Iranians clashing with protesters over those U.S. strikes. You had Iranian nationals celebrating the death of Iran's leader Saturday and clashing with protesters criticizing the Trump administration's military actions. As many as 50 Iranian nationals chanted, cheered, played music. They danced outside the White House Saturday, according to organizers, and several of them brought homemade signs. Alongside the Iranian people celebrating were protesters gathering to criticize the Trump administration. Law enforcement across the country still keeping an eye on possible terror threats. They are also keeping an eye on these types of protests.